Hello everybody, Reggie Time here, and I am delighted to be back making some videos with Owen. Owen, we were making videos at the start of the year, maybe towards the end of last year, I can't remember. Then Owen had some real life stuff going on. He dipped out of poker for a little bit, but he's back. He responded to my plea for people to make some content with last week, contacted me over the weekend, or sorry, late last week. And yeah, we're back. We're going to be making videos every week going forward outside of, inside of college term time, and I'm really looking forward to it. And I hope you guys are too. Owen is pretty much a recreational player. He works full time. For those of you who aren't familiar with him, who were new to the channel since we came, he's definitely got some leaks in his thought process, some leaks in his game. But we did find a fair bit of improvement last time. I'm expecting to see a fair bit of rust from Owen during these times, but hopefully we can soon whip him back into shape and we can get him moving up through the limits, up to a limit where he can hopefully start to make a little side income from his game. Without further ado, let's get into the hands.
It's probably better for both of us, mate.
Probably is, mate. Yeah. Anyway, here we are. We're in with the chat. Owen has sent, I think, 7 or 8 hands. You're back at 4-0, Owen. It's been a long time since we've had a chat, and I don't want this to take too long because people will just switch off. But I haven't asked you how it's been going, why you're playing 4-0, because I wanted it to be fresh for the video. Because you were playing 10-0 when we last chatted, weren't you? I think.
Yeah, that's right. Basically, I just had about 3 months of not playing at all, and I was planning to move. At the time I stopped playing, I was planning to move up from 10-0 to 20. But what I decided was when I came back, because I knew I hadn't played for months, I was just going to do like 10,000 hands at 4-0, and I'm actually planning to jump back up to 10-0, so, literally probably this week, and then hopefully up to 20 then fairly soon after. But what I didn't want to do was end up losing like 6 or 7 buy-ins at 10-0. I'd rather see where I am. I wasn't really expecting to win much money at 4-0 or any really, but I just wanted to get my muscle memory back in the groove, if you like.
Fair dues.
I just wanted to get my so that was that plan. I think I've done about 9,000 hands, and I'm planning to just move up to 10-0 now, and then 20 pretty soon after. That's my plan. But I wanted to speak to you first.
Well, fingers crossed we do. So we're going to get straight into the hands. We're going to be opening this from the cutoff, which isn't a thing. So that's the first mistake. You're probably a bit rusty with your ranges. Yes. I think in these games, 4-0, I know the site you're playing on, the rake's high. You've just got to play tight because the rake's just too high, and you really can't be opening these. In my opinion, you can't be opening these types of hands because you're just going to see your flop nearly all of the time. You're going to pay rake, and it's going to be hard to beat the rake with this hand unless you've got an enormous edge over your opponents. But we do open it, so whatever. I'll get a call. I'll fold from the small blind. So immediately we can assume this player is some kind of recreational player. I mean, it's 4-0, so they're all going to be, but he's probably going to be on the worst side because small blind calling versus cut-off probably isn't much of a thing unless this guy was a whale. Obviously, because you've only sent me 8 hands, we don't have your database to deal with, so we're going to be looking at all these from a pretty pure perspective unless you can remember anything about the villains. We completely whiff the flop.
Yes.
We check. So what are you thinking here?
I'm thinking I should see how often he folds to a C-bet. And if he folds to a C-bet a lot, it's worth betting. If he doesn't, then I'm done with the hand, really.
Okay. So I get it's a good board for our range. This player, if he's playing the sort of hands we expect small blinds to be playing with cold calls, which he might not be. He might be the sort of player who just has fucking 7-4 suited here. But if we assume he's got a relatively condensed, narrow range, it probably is going to have quite a lot of success with our C-bets, I imagine. But our hand just doesn't have many good qualities. Like, if our strategy is basically going to be, if he doesn't fold to c-bet, to give up, and if he does, c-bet, and then when he calls, give up again, it's not much of a plan, is it?
No, okay.
Which is probably why opening this hand in the first place is pretty shit, because it's never going to
No, I
offer us
know.
too many like good barreling opportunities. When we set off on flops,
No.
c-betting relatively light, we usually want to have some front door or at least some good backdoor equity. And this hand has none of that.
Yeah.
If he's got a king,
No,
we're
no.
virtually drawing dead. If he's got pairs, basically like eights or lower, we've got 2 overcasts of them, but we're never going to make a lot when we hit, you wouldn't imagine. This is just the problem with opening these sort of hands pre-flop in these loose games. You need to be like, having like suited hands, connected hands, etc. Hands with like good high card strength. So when you do brick flops, you can have plans to not just fire one c-bet and done, which was your strategy here. It's just not a particularly good strategy. But we've done it. We're in the situation now. So what size, if you're being one and done, what size are we going here?
Probably a third, half tops, a third to a half.
See, I think if we're one and done in, I think we should probably just go bigger, because I think 1/3 just doesn't capture, just doesn't get enough fold equity. Like we're one and done here because we know that we can't really. It's going to be almost no card we're going to want to barrel. Maybe we could think about barreling like a 10 or a queen or something. You don't just want to bet 1/3 and have him just call with, I don't know, fucking ace whatever of diamonds, or it's just some random offsuit ace X. Like say he's flatted ace 10 off. 1/3 he might just call that because it's 1/3 and it's at 4 and L. 1/3 pot's going to be 8 pence. And people are going to fold ace 10 off for 8 pence. So I don't like your plan. I don't like the fact you've opened this hand. I don't like the idea of c-betting 1/3 pot with the intention of just giving up. It just seems very, very vanilla, and like it's just not a plan. It's just right, we've opened the hand we shouldn't open. Now we're going to c-bet 1/3 and just get him to fold what? Maybe he folds some queen highs now and again. Maybe he's in there, we say queen 10 of clubs. Maybe he folds that. Maybe he doesn't as well because it's 4 and L and the guy's obviously bad. So I don't like the plan of bet 1/3, give up.
Okay.
I think it's a pretty crummy plan, but let's see what we get on with. We do bet 1/3. He does call. We do turn some equity, at least. He checks again. So if your plan was give up, how does this pot get bigger?
I know what happens. I remember, I've got the stats on my head, which you can't see, and his call stats were pretty low. And I've obviously turned a gut shot here. So I bet and size it up. And I can't remember what his turn stats were, but he actually called that. So basically, I can remember the river stat was he'd faced 6 bets on the river, and he'd folded to all of them.
Okay.
And I could see there was a flush draw there, and obviously it's quite straight. So my plan was to make an over half bet pot. So, I can't remember if it's 6 or 7 big blinds here, and if he called and checked to me on the river and it was kind of a bricky river, I was going to make a big attempt to bluff this pot.
Well, now I'm starting to like the plan a little bit better, because I think on these double flush draw boards, I think now we probably have a hand that we shouldn't have. Let's always keep that in mind. But we've got here the way we have, and I think now we probably do have a half decent triple barrel spot, because he can go call fold quite a lot on this board. Mostly with hands that we're ahead of, but sometimes with hands that we're slightly behind to as well. So I don't mind now, given we've turned some equity, given it's brought a second flush draw. For example, he could have a hand like ace 10 here and go call. Say you got ace 10 with a heart. He goes call, and he turns a gut shot, calls again, river bricks off, and he's left with ace high, and he can just fold it. Same with like hands like ace jack, that he should 3-bet, but if he's a bad player, maybe he doesn't, maybe he just calls. So I actually don't mind now we've turned this queen, I don't mind the plan of tripling off, but we have to bear all of it in mind with the context of we've got a combo that we shouldn't have. So he does check. We go with overbet. I quite like overbet here because we've got we've got a lot of strong hands here. We've got all the sets. So as he, no, it's not so as he. He's got 5s and 6s. Probably doesn't have the others. We have some 2 pairs he shouldn't have in theory, although maybe he does if he's bad. It's just, it's a good board for us to double barrel on. I like the overbet because he just puts an awful lot of pressure on his ace-high floats, his pocket pairs that floated the flop. So I like this overbet. I don't like the way we've got here, but now we've got here, I like it. He calls again. And then we get the river brick, check. So now, what are we thinking?
Yes. I wish I'd bet a bit smaller on the turn and then done the overbet on the river, if I'm honest.
Why though? Because why would you want to do that? Because like on the turn we have like
cheaper price.
No, but we can't think about it that way. On the turn we've just got a board that's pretty good for our range. I think it's a definite overbet spot on the turn. So we can't be like, oh, we should bet smaller now. So he arrives with a few more weak hands. So then our river bluff's going to be a bit more successful. And it's cheaper. These are all the wrong ways to think. I think we've given ignoring the fact we've got a bad hand that shouldn't have opened. I actually think the sizing structure you've taken so far is pretty decent. In terms of small bet flop, when we small bet flops, usually we're going to go big or check on the turn. So I like the fact you've done that. And you shouldn't be result orientated when you've taken a line that's probably pretty good, albeit again with a hand we shouldn't have. But your line post flop in terms of your sizing scheme's been good, and we shouldn't have regrets about that when the board doesn't do us any favours. So that's a bad mindset that you need to get out of. I'm happy with the way we've arrived at this spot post flop. It's just a matter now of like choosing our bluff size.
Yeah, what I was thinking was if I went a third on the flop, 3/4 on the turn, and then the overbet, would that be a?
Well, the thing is, what would want to go 3/4 turn, and then overbet river?
Well, I could have kings are in my range, and king queen.
But why wouldn't they want to overbet turn?
Oh, they would, I suppose. Yeah, but I was just thinking, yeah, they would, I suppose.
Well, not necessarily always, but I think in terms of sizing schemes,
I look stronger now, don't I? If I overbet again, yeah.
Well, no, it's not even about looking stronger. It's just about like it's not often on this river that you're going to want to go from 70% pot on the turn to overbet on river, because like our value probably wants to, our strongest hands probably want to.
Yeah, kings and queens, isn't it? Yeah.
Probably want to go bigger on the turn than 70%.
I agree. Kings, actually, yeah, think about it now. Kings and queens, definite. Yeah, okay.
Kings, queens, 5s, 6s. Yeah. If I had, say, a set of 5s or a set of 6s here, and I get called on that flop,
that's what I'm repping, isn't it?
I'm definitely going to want to go really big on the turn, maybe pot, maybe overbet, because I want to get the SPR down so I can shove river. So I'm always suspicious when people go 70% turn then overbet river, because they're saying on the river they've got a really like nutted hand and they want to overbet with. They're really polarized, but on the turn they weren't telling me that. And on this river that kind of breaks out, it wouldn't make sense to me to go smaller on the turn than overbet river, because I think we just get here with too many bluffs. It's too easy now to be like, on the turn, you just bet 70% with your flush draws. Oh, now I've bricked. Right, well, I'm overbetting because I really want him to fold. It's just not good poker, in my opinion.
Yeah. I've talked round. I've definitely.
But now, given the board's paired, I think we can bluff for less than pot on the river, because some of our hands that did overbet the turn, maybe now on a paired board don't necessarily want to overbet this river.
Yeah.
We could have like bet. I mean, there's not many hands to be fair because
King, queen in it. That's
they've
it.
changed
Yeah.
on this river. But I guess no, you can't have 6x really because it's called the turnover bet. I don't know. It's a weird river. I'm trying to think of because I want to bet big because I want him to fold. I have the emotional connection I've got, like the same as you've got. I want to bet big because I want him to fold.
Yeah.
But when we do bet big here on the river, because we don't have a 6 anymore. Like the 6 is not good because we wouldn't overbet a lone 6 on the turn. Our value combinations have been cut quite significantly because now pocket 6 is there's only one combo. Excuse me. Now there's only one combo of 6-5 suited. I think now there's only like 6-5 of spades is the only combo we can have. Yeah, so it's hurt our value a little bit.
I think kings, queens, and fives is what we're trying to represent.
Well, they're the hands. It's not necessarily what I try to represent. They're the hands that we would want to overbet for value. I try to think if we have any hands that would now want to bet 70% for value. Maybe a hand like king queen. Maybe doesn't want to overbet anymore because it's hard to get called by worse given we block calls. So yeah, maybe we can drop down to 70%. I'm just going to quickly look at this in the solver just to see what sizing it would do on the river. So we've opened the cutoff. Small blinds called, which shouldn't be a thing. And then big blinds folded. We get the 5 of diamonds and king 6 of hearts. We decide to bet 1/3. I'm just going to use your sizing scheme and see what sizes solver used on the river. He calls turn queen of diamonds. Check and we hit over bet. Get out of the way. Sorry, I'm being a bit of a moron here. Right, okay. When you said before we started recording, you said if it was top trumps moron, you'd be the best card. I'm still not convinced by that. Right, so we went over bet. He called again. And there was 6 of clubs. He checks. And what's Solver's suggested sizing here? Does it have any? Yeah, there's a fair bit of giving up. And its most favoured size is 150% pot. And it doesn't really do much of anything else small betting. So I think we are in like an overbet or give up spot in theory land. I think in practice, we could probably get away with just betting 70% here because I think in practice, villains will get here at 4NL, 10NL, 20NL, even 50NL, what have you, with hands that just have to fall to 70%. So I think we can get away as an exploit here of bluffing, but instead rather than bluffing 150, I think we can probably get away with just bluffing 70 because there's going to be overfolds here for 70% pot in my opinion, which is what I would probably go for because like I said, the ace 10s, the ace jacks, things like that, they probably just have to fold no matter what size we bet here. And I think that this sort of play will get here with that. And maybe sometimes they've just got a queen X that maybe just finds an overfold here. Pocket 10s, pocket 9s, etc. All those types of hands that shouldn't call the turn but do now have a hard time facing any kind of bet on the river. This is why I like to deviate a bit from theory because the range theory gets here with from the small blind is going to be vastly different from the range your 4-1L player who cold calls the small blind is going to get here with. So I think we have a mandatory bluff here, of course. But I wouldn't. This is where I would deviate from solver sizings personally. Let's see what you did.
Okay.
You went with overbet again, which is solver approved. Slightly bigger would have been better. Solver would have wanted us to go like 52 here, but big deal. And Willen called. And well, if he's not folding that, then our bluff really is fucking terrible. You know, if he's like floating that on the flop, which is probably reasonable floating that on the flop versus 1/3. Then calling turnover bet, I think he just starts folding turns really versus over bet, but he hasn't. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think
The
like
thing that surprised me,
go on,
yeah,
mate, sorry.
the thing that I was surprised when each other, I was like, I made a note on this guy actually. I don't never bluff him again, but I was surprised that he had folded to 6 river bets. That's all I had. I know it's not a massive amount of data, but he'd faced a bet on the river 6 times, and he'd folded every time. And then he called with that. I thought, bloody, because I've obviously repped a really strong hand, and he's called me with second pair. I thought, bloody hell, I was just completely shocked. But there we go. There we go.
Yeah, I think the takeaway from this, Andy,
All
like,
right.
I think post flop, I like it. I like the way you've played the hand.
Yeah.
But it just goes to show the importance of pre-flop, just getting your ranges right.
Yeah. This
But
is a
you've
theme
always
you'll
been on the
find.
loose. But you've always been
Yeah.
on the looser side pre-flop. I seem to remember you were
Honestly,
something like 28, 29, maybe even more than that VPIP when we started, with a relatively large gap
yeah.
between your VPIP and PFR. You like seeing 3 cards.
I'm actually gonna start drilling them. Do you remember when we were speaking before? I was doing those pre-flop drills,
Yep.
and I think I'm gonna get back on them because I've clearly you'll see this is a theme that throughout these hands.
Yeah,
I've
well,
got
the
a
thing
few
is,
more.
you've been rusty, and I'm not making
Yeah,
excuses for you here, but you've been rusty. You've got back into playing. You're probably enthusiastic. I don't know how much you are into horse racing, but like when a lot of horses have their first run of the season, they're almost out of control. You know, jockeys are pulling the
yeah,
fuck
yeah,
out of them because they're just like, oh, they've got all this energy, the nervous
yeah,
energy, they can't wait to get going, and they're like a dog with 2 dicks, and that's
yeah,
possibly what's been going on with you. You just haven't had the patience. You've just been, I haven't played for ages, really looking forward to
yeah,
this. And you've just played too many hands. That's me being charitable. If next week we're still doing this shit, then I'll be a lot less charitable. On
yeah,
to the
yeah.
next one. This is a Reggie approved open. You know, I'm a big fan of the
Brilliant.
Kings. We get a call from the button, we get a call from the small and fold. We get this flop, and we get okay. Well, this one's not going to be looked at in a solver, is it? Because it's already broken. Talk to me. Talk to me about what's going on in your mind here.
What what I should be doing here is looking to see how often that villain donks. Um, I seem to remember because I didn't actually have it in my head. I know I can click on it and look at it, but I've actually got it in my on-screen head now.
Yeah.
Um, but I didn't have it, and but I could see that he didn't bet very often. I think it was something like 18% he was betting. I've got, but I think if I was playing it now, I would just look to see how often does this guy donk because he basically donks pot, hasn't he?
Yeah,
And
yeah. It's a strong line.
which is quite big. Yeah. There's a third person in the hand. If him donking is a thing, then I'd be tempted to. Um, Actually, this is quite a thoughtful thing. I'm conscious there's a third person in this hand. Basically, if he never donks, it should be setting off alarm bells for me now, shouldn't it?
Well, I don't
But I'm not
know. Because
folding.
what do you think? Ignoring the stats for a minute, because we probably don't have a big enough sample.
Yeah,
What would you say a typical 4-L player's pot donk range looks like here?
it could be top pair. It could have a lot of top pair. It could be things like Jack 9, um, where he's got like an open end. I don't. I just wonder. I'm definitely not folding. That's not happening. I'm just wondering, should I raise? Because if he is donking with things like top pair and draws, then I want to make Oh god, this is true. It's the size of the donk. It is. Say if he donked like a third pot or something, I would be raising all day, and I wouldn't possibly give it as much thought as I should. I just think I should be raising this. It's the fact he's bet pot. He's donked into me with a pot size bet. I still think I'm ahead a good amount of the time. I think he could do it with. I don't think he can have even queens, can he?
I'm loving your
The way
confusion here because it's a confusing spot. I'm fucking loving. I'm just
yeah,
listening and I'm smiling. Go on, carry on, sorry fella. Keep going through your
I'm
thoughts.
trying to I'm trying to think what like. I don't think based. I'm gonna say he doesn't hardly ever show up with queens here based on pre-flop. Um, I think he could have deuces. Maybe tens as well. But apart from that, nothing. Everything else I'm beating. I think he could have any top pair literally because he's he, the more I'm thinking about it, because he's bet so big, I think I should just call.
Yeah, I think you've landed in the right place. My
Yeah.
thoughts on this and on donking ranges in general are normally they're pretty mergy when they use a smaller size. So had he donked half pot here or 1/3, I agree with you. Probably strongly consider raising. When they donk pot, it's kind of like I think, oh, that's a bit merged, but then they've donked pot. So now I'm thinking it's probably top end of it's hard to say top end of a merged range, but I suspect that this player is probably the sort of player who would donk Queen X. Maybe he'd donk 10x too, but he would use different sizes. I think this is going to be Queen 10 a fair amount, deuces. I think this is probably, given he's gone full pot, probably stronger than your average donk bet. Is where I would land on this. Now our hand's too strong to
Yeah.
fold. Could we still beat some value if he's got ace, queen, queen, jack, etc.? We still beat them. Even if he's got queen 10, we've got equity against that. I think
Hmm.
raising's out of the question when he bets this big. We've also got to worry a little bit about the guy on the button. We don't want to raise here and then the guy on the button just says, "Well, I'm all in, mate," because then we're fucking dead. And we've put quite a lot of money in the pot. So I was going to say this donk is going to be, because of the size, it's going to be more polarizing than your typical donk. That's how I would land on this.
Okay.
Had he used half
Yeah.
pot, I think it gives us a different set of options. But I think we only have one option here, and that option is call, which is what we do. Button calls. Now, this is now getting a pretty fucking dicey spot. What do you think about Button's range
Yeah.
here when he calls?
He's either got
Try not to be like too
he's
specific
either
with the
got a
hands
strong
he's got.
draw.
Just like what sort of hand class do you think he has? Rather than be like, oh, I think he's got like X hand. Like what
I
sort of
think
hand class do you think he has? Do you think he's got a nutted hand that's trapping? Do you think he's got a medium strength hand, like a good top pair, or do you think he's got a drawing hand,
yes.
like you said?
I think he's either got a strong draw, like an open ender, or like second pair top kicker would be the weakest of his pairs.
I think
I
second
don't
pair
think
should
he.
just
I think
fold here, personally, versus pot
so
donkey
do I.
call. And I think the open enders probably aren't there very often because we've got blockers to them.
That's true. I was thinking Jack nine. Yeah, but yeah, you're right.
Yeah, well,
King,
yeah, of course,
King,
Jack
King.
Nine.
Jack.
If he's got Jack Nine
Yeah,
suited, there's 4 combos of that. Maybe he's even got Jack Nine off if he's bad. Who knows? But I'd say his hand is going to be pretty condensed to top pairs and draws of some description. There's still like the few remaining combos of King Jack, Jack Nines,
yeah.
etc. Maybe he's even got a hand like Ace Jack. That just doesn't want to fold Jacks. He's got a draw to the
Open
nuts.
ender. Yeah.
Um, but if he does have some Queen
I,
X in range, then that obviously has a knock-on effect on the Donker's range. So all in all, this isn't a good spot for us. I don't think it's not a spot where
it's
I'm gonna want to continue putting lots of money in. Should either of these players want to invite us to do so? Against both these ranges, I think we're in equity-wise probably not in great shape. Probably got maybe anything from drawing close to dead to maybe like 50% versus them combined. If the button's got some kind of straight draw and the big blind's got a top pair. Between them, that's a lot of equity against our like one pair of kings. So it's not a particularly good spot for us, I don't think. Turn 10 should be a good card in theory. He now checks. Interesting. So now what are we thinking?
I'm thinking, I want to know what I did here. I think if this was just two unknown players, I would just check now. Which I clearly don't do because I've marked this hand for a reason. And I'm trying to think who the two players were that I was up against. The fact that he's donked pot and been called twice and then checked makes me think that he doesn't like the spot he's in. He was I don't think my instincts are his range has got a bit weaker in my mind, and I think I'm ahead of villain 6. If I've seen that correctly, because my eyes are terrible.
Yeah, villain 6, yep.
Villain 5's on the button, right?
Yep.
I think I should check, but I'm feeling quite good about my hand as long as villain 5 doesn't bet.
So what's dissuading you from betting, given that the guy who donked the flop has now come off the lead?
I think, yeah, that's a good question, actually. It looks to me like villain 5, if he had, say, for example, he had pocket deuces, right, which beats me, or if he, I like, there's not only so many hands that beat me, really. I feel like if he had a very strong hand, I would imagine he's going to raise well, no, because he's got position, so he can make sure money goes in on the turn anyway. I'm not that worried about villain 6, but I am worried about villain 5. I'm just thinking, should I bet or should I check?
Well, think back to how we ranged these guys on the flop. We didn't really give either of them much 10x, did we? We don't think the guy donking pot has second pair very often, and we think the guy on the button probably shouldn't overcall with like a naked 10x. Of course, he can have some 10x that doesn't want to fold because it's poker, it's humans, it's 4-L, and people call with hand they shouldn't call with all the time. So we can't strip him of 10x, but we think he's not like absolutely fucking riddled with 10x. My thoughts here are from the flop. We thought villain 6 had a lot of queen x, and we thought villain 5 had a few draws. Quite a few draws like the jack 9s, and he's going to have some queen x himself. Probably not too much 10x. Yeah, he can have some traps with deuces, and what have you. But overall, once villain 6 checks, I think this is it's a half decent spot for us to bet, because we can charge villain 6 when he's got draws. We can still get loads of value from queen x. Yeah, sometimes we're going to run into a 10. We're going to run into pocket deuces, etc. But I think it's a spot personally. We can bet like half pot, something like that. And then if people continue against that, then probably be somewhat cautious on rivers, depending on which player calls. If we get raised, we just have a trivial fold because we're just dead against raise. I just don't want to give a free card here, even though we do block the draws quite strongly. I think if we just check here and it checks through, maybe we can get a bit of thin value on the river. If it checks and villain 5 bets, we're just in a massive fucking guessing game. And I don't like guessing. And I think we just have a hand that can just get some value from queen x, still get some value from draws that don't want to fold. So I would personally bet here, because of like the way we assess their range on the flop. The 10 isn't a terrible card, and we can have a fair bit of 10x because we probably just say we don't ace 10 pre, king 10, all the 10x we have. We probably have like 10-9 suited plus pre-flop. And then on the flop, we're not going to fall to the donk bet. The guy donking from the big blind probably doesn't have 10x, button can have some 10x. Now the 10s come on the turn. I don't think anyone has much 10x, but I think the player that has the most 10x might well be us. So I think we can just bet this card quite comfortably. And I'd probably bet something in the region of half pot, I think. Let's see what you did. You did go, but you went with like 1/3, which is for me, that's fine. I would have gone a bit bigger, but I've no issue. I like the fact we found the bet. Call. Fold. River brick. Now what are you thinking?
He called a third pot bet, which he would do with the queen. If he's got a draw, he's missed. The only thing I'm really scared of is, like, the 3 shouldn't have helped him, should it? So the only thing I'm really worried about is if he's got a 10 in his hand or pocket deuces. So I think I'm ahead of him as range enough that I should bet. And I don't think I should go too big, really. Maybe half pot, maybe even less.
Now I'm torn here. I think we probably have, if we have a bet, I suspect it's block.
Yeah.
I don't really
what
want to
what
check.
What would a block size bet be?
What would I block here? Probably just block 1/3, quarter, 1/3, something like that.
Or maybe even.
I don't like the idea of check calling because we wanted to have a lot of King Jack and Jack 9. Now he's got Jack 9, but we blocked 2 of the combos of King Jack. But when we blocked, we wanted to have King Queen, and we blocked that. It's a weird spot. I would just block fold, I think. It's entirely possible villain gets here with some 10x. It's entirely possible villain traps deuces to this point. I think when we block and we get raised, we have a trivially easy fold. And we still get value. So I think just blocks the line here. I don't think there's much else to do other than block. It's awkward to block because you don't want to get raised. You want to make sure you get to showdown, and checking's a way that emotionally makes it not bad for us to get to showdown because we check, they bet, we convince ourselves that they've got bluffs, we call, and then we lose to 10x or deuces. I think the smart play here is block, fold.
Okay.
I think. Yeah, like that. Oh, fuck my life. So we plan to block fold and then we get min raised. We are dead. We are absolutely
dead. Yeah, that's exactly
fucking the river min raise. Which is literally never a bluff.
No. And I know what I did here.
Go on.
I thought I am getting 6 to 1. I'm not folding.
Mate, we need 15%
and I
equity.
Think, I do have a set.
We have to call here.
Which is yeah.
Because like if he's ever like min raising Queen X here, it's a fucking disaster to fold. And when we go block, maybe they do just get a bit too much confidence in their queen. Probably not. I'd say we almost never win here, but we only need to win 15% of the time. It takes a better man than me to fold. I expect to lose here nearly always, but sometimes weird shit happens because this is a non-sizing from this guy's clearly a fish. He's using a complete non-sizing on the river. He's almost always just going to have deuces or 10x here. But we need 15% equity, so fuck folding basically at this point. I think we're dead, but I don't think we can fold because we only need to win 15% of the time.
It's the price is too good, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, I just think enough weird shit happens where we can't fold here. But I expect to lose nearly always. We do call and whatever. Good for him. Good for him. I mean, he probably won the max there because if he bases bigger, we're just going to fold our hand. So I mean, he did.
100%.
He did win the absolute max, but yeah, fuck him. Now this is the one you wanted to talk most about pre-flop. Oh, you're against someone I've got hands on here. You're up against.
Oh wow.
So this is someone who I normally play, which would be 20 or 50 now, dipping his toe in the 4 street. So this guy's not been having a really good time of it, is he? We open. Oh. So we've gone with the pot size open on the bottom, which I don't fucking hate, to be honest. in these games against the type of player profile we typically come up against. I'm a bit less into it because of small blind stack size.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're not going to catch me. If 3.5x is your standard button open with all of your range, then in these games, I don't hate it. We just get to put more money in the pot against passive opponents that aren't going to 3-bet enough, and then play bigger pots in position against bad players. I like that. But if you're doing this like with only a select number of hands, then I like it less. Range. Yeah, you don't have to do this, but I don't hate it. I really don't hate it in this pool. We get a call, and we get a call. Okay. Flop 6, 8, 9. Check. Right. Okay. Talk to me.
Right. I know I'm going to bet. I've got an open ender, obviously. I've got a lot of equity. I think the reason I bet this was, do I want to get? I don't mind if I get called, because I've got equity, even if they've got a bit better than me, and thinking about it, I can think of reasons not to bet now. I'm not going to bet this all the time. So, actually, am I? Because it doesn't really hit my range. I actually think it hits them more than me. But I think I bet it because I've got an open ender. If I do make my straight, I'm probably not going to get paid. I don't know if I like my bet now. I'm pretty sure I'm going to bet about 3 or 4 big blinds here. And I'm not sure if I like it now. What was my reason for betting? It obviously hasn't hit my range. I've got an open ender. I actually think I prefer checking.
Yeah, I think if we bet here, I think it's a bad bet.
Yeah,
I don't think we'd see bet this board very often in the heads-up pot. So if we're not going to see bet very often in the heads-up pot, the thought of see betting in multi-way just seems even worse. Our hands are just too good to bet. It's not strong enough to value bet. It has too much equity to like bet fold. I just don't think we have a bet here. I think we have a nice check back and make sure we see all the cards. You know, we check back and someone bets a turn, we can just doesn't matter. We can just call.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah,
you know, we win sometimes and you can check down pots too. It's just I get that we have some equity. We want to start like betting, but we haven't got a hand that wants to build a pot. We've got a hand that's doing okay. No. We have some showdown value. We obviously have a draw to a straight, but we don't really want to start building a pot here, especially multi-way, because you know the more we build a pot here, the weaker 70 is going to become. The more they're going to need to improve.
Yeah, I think I should check.
So why do you think your initial instinct was, I think I have a bet? Because that was the first thing you said. You were quite confident that you'd want to bet this hand. So why do you think that was your? I like the fact that you said that at first. That was your instinct, and then you drew back from it, and then like zoomed out, saw the bigger picture, and thought check. But we don't always have that luxury of timing game. So, and we more often than not, we do our first instinct, which was for you was to bet. And these are the sort of things you want to try and iron out in these sessions because you're right. Now we've had more time. Your instinct was bet. And then when you talked it through a little bit, you're like, well, actually, I don't think I do want to bet anymore. So what we want to do in these sessions is hone your instincts. So your first instinct is more accurate more often than like your old instincts. Because at the minute, like it'll be your old habits, it'll be your rustiness, and that's what you'll be leaning on when you're playing. And we need to be replacing them with the thoughts that you got to independently in this hand, given you had. I mean, you probably talked for about a minute there. In game, you have 30 seconds, and you've got other tables going on. So in reality, you've maybe got 10 to 15 seconds of thinking time. So it's natural we're going to do more what our initial instinct tells us to do. So our job here is to push out your old instincts and bring some new ones in. So I'm glad the fact you found check after we've talked it through. But what do you think? Why do you think instinctively you went with bet at first? Because that's a thought process.
I
That's
think,
the thought process I want to get to, so we can try and
yeah,
replace it.
I think the reason I instinctively went to bet was because I had a pair and a strong draw, but I didn't factor in actually my pair is quite weak on this board. There's two overcards to it, and I wasn't thinking about whether the board hit my range. I think what really, because I was once I realised actually my pair's not that good, and then I was thinking actually this board hits their range way more than me. Um, that's what kind of brought me back. But I just think it was the fact that I had value and I had a draw. And I just thought, well, I've got the betting lead, I've got value, and I've got a draw. I'm gonna bet because I was trying to think too quickly. Um, and they hadn't shown any strength yet, which obviously they can check raise, but they hadn't shown me that they were strong yet. And I think that was what it was. I had to. It took me a while, didn't it, to get to the point where actually my pair's not very good, and they have got a strong. This board doesn't hit my range of opening hands
Yeah, it's just a disaster
as
to
much.
like reopen the betting here and get raised. We have a pure continue if we do get raised, but it's
Mm.
it's getting a bit dicey. If I'm going to suggest something here, and if I'm wrong, if I'm off base, just tell me. Don't like, oh, I don't want to argue. Is there any element here of wanting to bet just because it makes life easier?
Um, I don't know. Possibly. I think. Um, I don't know if it does make life easier. I might have just been on autopilot, but I think opening the betting actually can make my life more difficult. Because if I check, obviously I can see a turn card for free. Um, I don't know if I did it to make my life easier. Yeah, as in you mean so that I keep the initiative if
No, so
from
I,
old school talk.
no, I meant it from. So if you face a bet on the turn, like checking betting here means it's less likely you're going to face a big turn bet. So if we were to just bet 130 here, for example, and we didn't get raised, we're probably going to get checked to on the turn, and then we get to the hand's really simple to play.
Yeah,
Whereas if we check back
yeah,
and
I
someone
think
leads
that.
out for
Yeah,
like 70% pot on the turn brick, then you're like, well, fucking hell, this is now uncomfortable, sort of thing. So I think a lot of players here would just bet small,
I think.
and the hope it like buys them a cheap river, if you will.
Yeah, I think what I might have done. I can't see my stats, but I know I might have checked how often these two players check raise. But if I haven't got any data on them, because what I've
The thing
in
is, just to interrupt a
the
minute,
falling out, I had.
sorry, fella,
Yeah,
just to, no one check raises enough in these games, so they're going to be
no,
both
that's my
players are going to
point.
be
Yeah,
under check raising. So that's not a stat that you're going to want to look for unless you have a pretty big sample on people, because at the sample
yeah,
size you're going to
that's
have,
fair.
having just come back, you're going to have like at most a couple of hundred hands on any of these players, and the check raise stat
Yeah,
in that sample is going to be completely irrelevant.
yeah, that's fair.
So I wouldn't look
So
for that stat.
yeah, no, that's fair. I'm trying to think why I think I just I honestly don't think I thought about it enough. I don't think I don't think I was trying to I just think I didn't think about the board against the range. I just think I thought I've got a pair, I'm open ended, I'm gonna bet. And I didn't think it through properly with regards to actually this hits them more than me. I can just see a turn card for free here. And I would imagine um if the four cards, thinking about it, I'm just thinking out loud here, but if the four cards to a straight do come, like the 5 or the 10, I'd imagine I'm more likely to get um paid if I've checked if I've checked back here, because they're going to think, well, he hasn't got a straight. He did not. He would have bet a straight draw. Some of the time they are anyway. I don't know. I think I just should have checked. I
That's
think I
fair
just
enough. Yeah, I
should have
think we
thought
should
about
have.
it more.
Yeah, we should have just checked.
Yeah.
Ultimately, our hand here isn't strong enough to value bet, and it doesn't need to bluff. So therefore, there's no real reason to bet. If we go back to the core principles of reasons to bet, is to make better hands fold and to make worse hands call.
Yeah.
To get value from worse. And neither of those things is really going to happen a lot here when we bet. So I think just checking is easily the best play. We did go with a bet though, a very small bet. Call.
Mm-hmm.
Now we've got the problem.
Yeah. And that's the guy you said who played in the 20 NL tour, isn't it?
It might even be 50 NL because I played a fair bit of 50 NL. But either way, yes, he certainly plays higher than 4 NL. Not that matters. It doesn't make sense any good. There's a lot of shit players in the 20 and 50 NL pools.
Yeah, that's true. But right, I'm open-ended here. What am I getting? It's 26 in the pot or 27, something like that, and I got a 8. Oh God, there's a strong case for folding here and there, but I don't think I
don't
fold,
think there's a strong case for
I
folding.
would fold. It's open-ended. If he's got a set, he's going to pay me off, isn't he?
Yeah, the guy's clearly got value here. Very unlikely he's got a draw. Well, not very unlikely, but I think he's just going to be...
I'm thinking about this now. He is called from the big blind, right? I'm the button. The small blind called. He called. He could have 10-7. I'm dead.
It could have, but we block that, don't we? We can't be just thinking about the worst case scenario. I think the most likely scenario here is he's got a value hand that we can improve against quite comfortably. You know, you can have pocket 8s, pocket 9s, pocket 6s. You can have all the sets for certain. You can have 8. You can probably have all the 2 pairs out of the big blind too. He can have Jack 10 as a bluff. He might just be like, well, fuck this 2 big blind and call. He might even have hands like Jack Queen with backdoors, stuff like that. So I think we have a super trivial call here.
Yeah, I can't fold.
Yeah, super trivial call.
I would fold.
So we can just improve against the nuts. If he's got a set of 9s and we do rip a 5 or a 10 off, it's microstakes poker. They're not going to fold the turn at least because they have a chance to boat up. So we get to bet the turn. They just have to call with nearly all of their range, etc. If it's, I just think we have a crystal clear call here, and depending on sizing, call turn as well. We do call. He now folds. Oh, that's an interesting one.
Yes, it is.
Let's see what happens. Right, so now he's check raised, and then now he's gone smaller. What do we think his range looks like?
I don't think he got a straight because I think he would bet. Well, he could have because how would I get called? But I feel like his range has weakened. The top of his range has come off for me a bit. Or he had a strong hand, like a 9-8. He's had like a 9. He's got like a 9-8 of whatever because he can have all of them, I would imagine. And he doesn't like that turn card because obviously there's 4 cards to a straight now. So what's he going to get called by? If he has got a hand like that, obviously like a 9-8 or a 6-8, then obviously I've just improved and I took the lead against that. And I think that looks like it's a strong part of his range to me. For example, if he had 9-10 of spades and he decided to check with that, I don't know if he would or not, he's not going to size down now, in my opinion. Because he probably feels like he's got the nuts, which he kind of has. I suppose Jack 10 is the nuts, isn't he? But I don't think he's got a straight at the moment. He could have, and he could be thinking, hang on a minute, I've got a straight, but how am I going to get value? You might have already had a straight. Do you know what I mean? I feel like there's a lot of 2-pair hands in here now that I can beat. I think he can have 6s and he would play it like this. Maybe, I don't know. Because on the flop, sixes was beautiful, wasn't it? And he's just got a bet from a bet in the call. The small blind. Oh, lovely! I got bottom set. I'm going to raise here, but then a 7 comes, and there's 4 cards to a straight, and he's like, well, I've got the set, but that's not a good card, is it? Um, um, yeah, I feel like it's unlikely he's got a straight, and I feel like he's got, but I do still think he's got value. He's got a lot of value, but I think a lot of the value he's got, I can beat.
Now, I think Villain's made an enormous blunder here. I think this is such a bad card for like his check raise range on the flop. I think he should just range check. Even if he's got like Jack 10, I think just range check here. It's such a terrible, terrible card for his range. It massively devalues all of his flop value. Every single hand he had for value on the flop has now been basically massively devalued by this turn card. Even if you had a set of 9s, you know, it's gone way down. And he might still want to continue betting a set of 9s, a set of 8s, a set of 6s. Emotionally, he might want to bet them still. But I think from like a theoretical perspective, it's such a bad card for his range. He should just check absolutely everything. So I think he's blundered here. And as soon as I saw the bet, I was like, well, okay, this is a blunder from him. Problem is, he might still have a better hand than us and not realise he has to range check. So I don't think we get to raise here. I think we only have a call. And then just see what happens on the river. But I think this is a significant mistake from him. I think this is such a bad card. You shouldn't be betting, in my opinion. We do call. River is a 3. And now he checks. So do we have a value bet or not? That is the question.
Yes. And the answer to that is like, say, for example, I bet, like, I can't make a big bet here, in my opinion. When I tagged this hand, I can remember it. When I tagged this hand, I thought I'd missed value because I can remember thinking he ain't got a straight and he ain't got and he can have the sets, but he can also have lots of 2-pair, 1-pair hands. And I just thought I beat enough of his hands that I could bet. But I don't think that now. I'm thinking in the cold light of day and I've got more time. Like, if I bet, how much would I bet? I wouldn't bet a half pot, I don't think. And what's calling me? I'm trying to think what I would expect him to call me with if I bet small. The pocket 9s, pocket 8s, pocket 6s probably. Would he call me with a 9-8? I don't know. I don't think so. I think I should check.
I think in theory we have a check here. I'm just thinking in practice, like, can we just like do a thing that's not a thing, and can we block in position and get calls from crying calls from 9-8, 8-6, 9-6?
Yeah, that's what I was
stuff
thinking.
like that. Because I agree with you. I don't think he has a straight almost ever here. I think if he continues betting a straight on the turn, like say he had the nuts or even just a 10, I don't think they're now checking this river. I think straights just keep betting. Now, the question is, do we value on ourselves too much against pocket 8s and pocket 9s versus getting value from 9-8, 8-6, 8-7 maybe, although that shouldn't check raise flop, but it might do sometimes, given it was bet small. You might just be like pair, straight draw, tiny bet in position. If we go back to the flop, we only bet 2 blinds. So he might be aggro enough to be like, fuck you with 8-7. We're going to have a little raise, or 9-7 or something like that. It seems unlikely, but it might happen at a non-zero percentage of the time. So it's a question of, like, on check here, I think we win a lot of the time. I think we probably win like 70 plus % of the time. When we bet, if we were to go all in here and get called, I don't think we win very often. I think we probably value cut ourselves. I think if we bet if we just get really fucking greedy here and bet something like 12%, 12 blinds, like 20% pot, I suspect that probably makes money. But it is thin, and I think in theory we just check back here. I think like I don't think I want to deviate enough from theory to like reopen for 12 bigs here, because it's a fucking disaster if he then ships it on us. So I think I'd probably, my instincts in game first would be, right, we have the best hand, therefore bet. But when I start thinking about the type of size we need to use in order to get called by worse, which would be like probably no bigger than 1/3, I do really want to reopen for 1/3 here, when I still think I do though. Still think I do. I think I want to bet fold this, even though theoretically that is not sound. We probably don't want to do that in theory. I think in practice against bad players at the micro stakes who might not fold 2 pairs here for 1/3 pot, who probably won't fold 2/3 for 1. And that's what we're targeting. We're targeting the 2 pairs, aren't we?
Yeah.
And I think there's maybe enough of them that take this. Like, he's check raise flop and he's like bet the turn, presumably for value, and then checked. So it just looks a lot like 8-9 to me, 8-6, 9. I think there's 2 pairs galore out there, and I think we can get some value from them. So I think I do want to reopen here. But theoretically, that's probably really quite fucking bad. Let's see what we did. We did check back.
Yeah.
Wow, he was thin on the flop. He's murdered that hand. He's absolutely fucking murdered it. Yeah, I think you played the hand completely fine. Well, no, we haven't. We shouldn't have bet the flop. But after betting the flop, I think it's fine. I think we can get a little bit of value. He's probably not calling me that hand, to be fair, which is probably why it's too thin, because if we're not getting called by top pair on a value bet, then it probably is a bit too thin. So, yeah, all in all, I think I might have reopened betting there, depending on a few things in game, like game flow and a few other things. But yeah, we can't argue with the check back, because that's theoretically going to be easily the most likely play. We just have a bunch of like 10x that can value bet. We have like the nuts. We have bigger sets. Like if we had a set of 9s here, maybe we'd bet them, maybe we wouldn't. So we can't check this in solvers because it was multi-way. But if this was like just a heads-up pot versus big blind, I wonder if theory would value bet top set here. Maybe it wouldn't still, because maybe when we value bet, we only ever get called by straights. Don't know. Interesting. Anyway, on to the next one.
Yeah.
Jack 6 suited, opening the button.
It's just horrendous, yeah.
Well, no, I think it's probably in there. Let's have a look. I've got GTO Wizard on my other screen.
Yeah.
It's definitely, if it isn't open, it's definitely bottom of range from the button. No, it's in there. Quest we go down as low as Jack 4. Cool. Now, maybe we don't go as low as Jack 4 at 4 and L on this site because the rake's high. But yeah, this is in there on higher stakes rake structures, so it can't be too bad. You get called. Flop 2 pair. What's a life? Check. Okay. Now what?
I'm going to bet, because that's a good board for my range, and I've got a good hand.
That seemed like 2 very good fucking reasons to me. So what size?
If I think I should go half pot. Don't really want to go big and go polar. I think I should just bet anywhere from like 3-4 big blinds. It's fine.
Why don't you want to go polar here?
Good question. Because I've got the weaker of the main. I would say my polar range should be kind of sets, and maybe top 2. for value, I don't think bottom two should be in there. I might be wrong, but there's other like I presume if I can have Jack 6 suited, I can also have King 6 suited. That's better. But King Jack is better. And all the sets I can have. I just feel like I don't think my hand is strong enough to go polar, but I'm willing to be talked. I don't.
Well, here's the thing. What you're doing there now, you're splitting your bet sizes based on your hand strength.
Based on my, which is a
don't,
mistake.
Don't do that. Don't do that, especially not on flops. We just have here's what I see when I see this flop. Like, right, okay, we've just got a strong range here. Villain's range is pretty weak.
Yeah.
He's just caught out the big blind. There's 2 high cards and a low card. To me, that's a spot where probably we can use a lot of different sizes. So, I like the fact you were talking about using different sizes. But overall, like high, low with a flush draw, it's just a board that I'm not going to bet at like mega high frequency. It's certainly not a range bet. So I think I'm probably just going to use big sizes when I do decide to bet. It's just how big.
Well, you wouldn't range bet this board. You wouldn't range bet this one.
No, I don't think I would. No.
Okay. So button open. That's fair enough. I thought I was okay because of the connectivity of it. Is it? Because it's so connected.
We just have a lot of shit in our range from the button, don't we? So we can't just bet our entire range here. We've got loads of really shit hands from the button here. If we let's have a look at what our pre-flop range looks like. Yeah, we just got all kinds.
Oh yeah, because it's probably the widest both the ranges are, isn't it, in this game?
Let's just
button versus small blind.
Hopefully this will capture in the screen. Okay, yeah, it does. I mean, look at all these hands we have. We just have so many fucking bad hands that we just don't get to range bet because we've got too many bad hands in our range. If this was a 3-bet pot and we were from the big blind or whatever, then yeah, we get to range bet a lot more because we have a far narrower range, etc. But we've got so much fucking rubbish. We can't bet all of these hands. By range bets, we basically mean we're betting our entire fucking range for a small size, and we just can't do that here. We can't just fucking randomly bet, Queen Deuce of spades here, for example.
I see. Yeah. No, I'm with you.
So we can't range bet. Let's see what the solver wants to do, because I think I'd probably want to go. Before we look at the solver, on this board with this hand, I would probably want to go on the larger sides. Probably my smallest bet would be 70%, and I'd probably have. Would I have over bets? Maybe not. Maybe not over bets, but I'd probably. I have a 70% and a 90% pot button, and I'd use one of those two. Let's see what the machine wants to do though. What's the board? Jack 6 of diamonds, King of clubs. Villain's checking. Yeah, we don't have a range, but we're checking back half the time. It's just because we have so much shit in range that we just can't range.
I got you.
So what size is the most used size here? Well, it's fucking, it's all sorts, isn't it? 50%, then it's literally mixing 4 different sizes. That's too complicated. Let's change the solve to simple or simplified. Does that give us less sizes? Yes, it does. Gives us far less sizes. I like that. It gives us fewer sizes. It gives us just 3 sizes to choose. Now, is there any way to make it even less fucking sizes? No. Right, okay. Now it has. It's just given us a quite simple strategy now of check or bet 1/3. So now it is wanting to. Now we're simplifying through like using a one size strategy. It does want to range bet, but I don't want to range bet because yeah, it's interesting how this changes. Actually, I'm learning something here. Like when you just give it one size and one size only, it's only using range bet. But when we give it multiple sizes, which I think we probably want to have on this board against bad players,
Yeah.
so when we go, right, come on, let's have all the sizes, give us a full fucking gamut, then it's like, well, okay, then you want them all, you've got them all. I would personally probably bet 70% here. I think 70 to 90%. Because I think we can just get called by loads of words. So we unblock top pair, which is really nice. We unblock diamonds. We unblock queen 10. We unblock ace 10. We unblock ace queen. Some of them might 3-bet. I just think it's that we have a hand where we just want to bet really quite big because we can just get called by so many worse hands. Let's see what you did. You did go with 1/3, which if you are using a one-size strategy, this is the correct size. If you're not, and I don't think we should be, then I don't think it's a good size. He does call. Turn 9. Devalues our hand a little bit. Not massively, but a little bit. Villain checks. Now what do we think? Now what are we thinking?
I'm thinking there's 2 flush draws on there. I've still got 2 pairs, still got a strong hand, but obviously it's gone down. Things like Jack 9 and King 9 got there, and the straight's got there, innit? Or one of them. I think I should still bet it. I think what I would normally do, I think, is I would bet again, but I would size it up a bit. Maybe 3/4 pot.
So what would you do here if the turn was a 5 of diamonds?
I would... Oh, that's a good question. Because I mean, if the flush draw got there, if he checked me...
Sorry, not 5. Sorry, I meant 5 of clubs. Sorry, said 2 flush draws, but nothing improves in villain's range. Because obviously here, villain's range has improved. Jack 9's got there, King 9's got there, Queen 10's got there. So obviously, our hand has its equity has definitely been reduced by this turn card. But if it was, say, a 5 of clubs, our hand's hasn't really been degraded very much. So, because I would definitely have different sizes here on different boards. That's what I'm trying to get to. Would you just be 3/4 pot with range here, or because I don't? This is when we've bet 1/3 on the flop. To me, this isn't a card we want to size up on the turn. Whereas if I'd played it my way and I'd have bet 70%, I would probably still bet 70% now with a view to checking back river. But because you only bet 1/3 on the flop, I'm wondering how that changes our sizing scheme on this turn, and I'm interested to look into that.
Yeah, I think basically if I bet, I'm trying to think what a big part of his range is diamonds and top pair, isn't it? Especially as I block the other 2.
Yeah, I'd say his range is diamonds, top pairs, some Queen 10 that's got there. He still has the Ace 10, the Ace Queen that didn't 3-bet, etc. He has some Ace Jack 2. Yeah. We only bet 1/3 flop, so he definitely has some Ace Jack 2. He has some backdoor clubs. That just
I've been thinking about it now. I don't think I would have thought about this in game. I don't know what I did actually, but I'm going to guess I bet about 3/4. If I haven't given it more thought, I think I would also bet a similar size in relation to the pot than what I did on the turn. Sorry, on the flop.
Oh, I think
I'd probably bet about 4 big.
Yeah, I don't like betting 1/3 again here. I don't think. I think when we bet, I think we either have. We can't overbet anymore because there's just better hands out there. Quite a lot of better hands. I don't think theory would ever reopen here for 1/3. We can find out because we can run this hand. I think we either have a check or a big bet of like 70-odd%, and I don't like check because our hand can still get plenty of value, and we don't want to allow like our opponents just realise for free here. So I don't think I like the 1/3. I think I like check back or bet, and our hand's too strong to check back. You did go with big bet. get called.
Yeah.
So let's see what the machine does on our line. So we bet 1/3 on the flop. They called. Turn was a 9 of clubs. They check. Our range is checking 62%. Our most used size is 75%.
Our range is checking 62, is it?
Range is checking 62 globally. Our most used size is the size you picked. And our exact hand, Jack 6
Is a
of...
bet, is it?
Which ones have we got? Jack 6 of spades, haven't we? Yeah, we're checking 99% with Jack 6 of spades, which I wouldn't do personally. So, yeah. The only combination we're betting here is our club combo, for obvious reasons.
Wow.
I'm surprised by that. So we do that. River, diamond, he checks. And I don't even think I need to ask you what you think about this. But I'm going to anyway.
I'm going to check it.
Yeah, we have to. We just ran out. Our value's dried up now, hasn't it? You know, we can still have the best hand.
Yeah.
We can't value bet. Check, and he had king 9 offsuit. Yeah, fine, whatever. I'm interested in that turn why it's not betting our combo. So when we bet, why doesn't it want to bet our combo? I'm not very good at this. Is a part of using a solver I'm not very good at. I just don't understand.
Does he call with? What does he call with on the flop? How much of it?
On the flop, he's calling 60%. So 55%. So he's continuing 60%. He's calling half the time, which you'd expect versus a range bet. You'd expect to be a lot of defending because they need to defend a big chunk of their range. I'm just interested in this turn. Why, when we bet 75%, why is that bad for Jack 6? What's their calling range? So they have a load of draws that want to call. They have a load of hands that, I don't know, bottom of the range is folding. I guess they've just got too much equity. You look at all these hands, they've just got loads of hands that have got like 60% plus equity. So I guess it's saying we've got less than 50% equity versus the call range, so therefore we just check our hand. And in theory, that might be true. In practice, I'm not sure it is true. That's why it's not wanting to bet our hand, because it's just when it gets called, it's got like less than 50% equity, which is why it's wanting to bet. Which is why it's wanting to check. But I think in reality, in these pools, I think we could just play the hand the way you played it and not have a major problem.
Okay, cool.
Because I think like a lot of the hands that 3-bet pre, in theory land, if we go all the way back to pre-flop from the big blind, all the way back here, I think like some of these hands like ace queen off, ace jack off, a lot of these hands don't 3-bet in the real world. They should do. They should be fucking mandatory. But you're playing a game where the average 3-bet's like 5%.
Yeah.
So a lot of these hands are existing. Often less. So a lot of these hands are existing in a calling range, not a 3-betting range. So once these hands exist in calling ranges, like the ace queens, the ace jacks, the ace jack off, these king jacks that just are pure calls, king jack suited that are just pure calls by a lot of people. Not obviously we lose to the king jacks, but the king queens, like the jack tens and things. I just think because a lot of these 3-bets aren't there in reality in these pools, I think we get to value bet the turn again. So I'm going to ignore theory on this one and say we can still value bet our hand. We have to understand it's a little bit thin because they also have hands that should 3-bet that are better than us, like the king jacks of the world, etc. But yeah, I think as played, I like the way you played the hand. And I think it's fine to deviate from the theory when the game tree's already broke pre-flop, I think we can then deviate from theory post-flop quite significantly, as long as we know why we're doing it. Right, let's do one more. Pocket 8, we've already done an hour and 20 minutes, but who gives a fuck? Ryan will be loving it. Ryan's pleased that you're back. He likes you, does Ryan? He was asking about you not so long. I was Owen doing Reg, and so no, it's fine, mate. It's
I'm
just
back
chugging
now.
along. But Ryan will be chuffed. He's got a soft spot for you. So anyway, we've opened pot, call from the small blind, call from the big blind, donk. So we're not waiting to look at this in the solver because this A, it's multi-way, and B, something that shouldn't happen has happened. So again, check the lead.
Okay. So I think I'd want to see how often he donks, and I might not have any stats, but you've got better than second pair. I'm not really happy with this situation, but I think I'm going to call one bet. I think he's bet third pot, right? Let me look at my screen, make it bigger. So I don't know why he would do this unless I've got kind of more stats on him, and I don't think I did. I think, but I've got better than second pair. I think I'm going to call one bet and evaluate on the river. If he sizes up and I don't improve, I'm just going to have to fold, I think. But if he slows down, I don't really want to just give up to this bet. That's the way I'm thinking about it.
No, that's fine.
But
I agree with all of that. We were talking about if we were both in a set of top trumps, we'd be number 1 and number 2 moron. If this guy's card was introduced, we'd now be number 2 and number 3 moron. Because this is fucking moronic. Simple as that. It's just not, it's just bad. It's just flat out bad. It's going to be probably quite mergy. I wouldn't be surprised to see 7x in this range. I wouldn't be surprised to see a bunch of Jack X in this range. 10-9 suited, 10-8 suited, 6-5 suited, 5-4 suited, all kinds of shit in here. We can't fold. We simply cannot fold to this bet. I think the flop's really easy street to play. We're obviously never raising. We're obviously never folding. Really easy call. Happy days. Turn 3. Okay.
Oh God. Right. So really, his bet in relation to the size of the pot. I don't bet the same size. I really don't like this spot. I feel like I'm probably losing, but I don't. This is right. If I think I'd have to look at my head and see how often he bets flop, bets turn, bets river. If it's very, very low, then I think I'm tempted to give up this hand. But I don't think he's got a very strong hand, and I'm wondering, should I raise him?
All right, okay, hang on. Why on earth do you think he's got a very strong hand?
No, I'm wondering. No, I'm saying I don't think he's got a very strong hand.
All right, sorry, I thought you said he's got a very... Yeah. I heard you saying, I think we should give up this spot, and then I heard the words very strong hand. I was like, whoa. No, he probably doesn't have a very strong hand.
No, sorry. I've sorted my mic out now. No, I remember. I can't. I think I'm starting to remember this hand now, and I can remember my thought process. I called the bet on the flop for the reasons we said, and my intention was if he slowed down, if he sort of stepped it up on the turn, I was going to fold. But if he slowed down, then I'm probably ahead of his range. Now I feel like this is slowing down because he's bet the same size bet into a bigger pot now, which makes me think I might even be ahead of his range. But I feel like he's got a lot of Jack X in there. So I'm just sort of thinking out loud here. If I raise him, I don't expect him to fold his Jack X in this pool. And what I'm thinking is, if I call him, am I beating enough of his range? And the answer is I don't know actually. Um, I I think I should call based on the price. I don't. I am concerned that he could have a Jack X hand, and I don't want to try and bluff him off it because I don't think he will.
We don't need to bluff
I
him off.
don't think
We've
he.
got we've got a made hand. We don't need to bluff here. I would throw all ideas of trying to bluff out of the window. Then it's just a matter of, do we have enough equity versus his range to call this bet? We need 13% equity. It's a rhetorical question. It's just yes, of course we do. We still beat
Okay,
7x. He's same bet the turn. That is usually from these shitty players a good indication that their hand hasn't improved and they still like it, but they're losing confidence in it. I think 7x can definitely still do this. Jack X probably can still do this. And he still retains all of those draws that we talked about, the 5-4s, the 5-6s. There's 8 million straight draws out there. I just think we have an absolute mandatory call here. There's literally nothing else to be said. Because we beat some of his value. We beat all of his like, it's hard to call them
draws.
Bluffs,
Yeah,
just draws. We beat his draws that have some equity. I refuse to call it a bluff for this size. It's just a call, and we just move along. Do what we do. River 9, and now his size is up
slightly. Yeah. I think I'm losing, and I got a feeling my curiosity got the better of me here. It's a diamond, isn't it? So I don't think he definitely hasn't got. Well, I can't say definitely, but I'd be shocked if he showed up with a flush. I wonder if he's maybe got a hand like 10-8, but we double block that, don't we? And he's just like sizing up because he's made it straight, and but he's scared of the flush. It feels like a hand like Jack 9, Jack 10. I don't think it's a 7 anymore because an overcard to the 7 has come and he's sized up. I think I should fold, but I can't remember if I did or not, but I'd be surprised now if I call and I'm ahead.
What do you think about, because my instinct here is to fuck you raise versus this sizing scheme and this line. So what do you think about that? I mean, it could be a monstrous punt, but what do you think about it? Because that's my instinct. I don't want to call here. I think calling probably is something like break even-ish because we still beat some 7x that he's maybe just trying to make his bet look almost like he's trying to bluff with the 7 and make his bet look scarier. Because even though this is still a relatively small bet, in his mind he's now doubled his sizing. So maybe he's just trying to bluff with a fucking 7. Maybe he's like trying I don't know what he's trying to fucking do. But like with his Jack, maybe he doesn't want to get raised, so he thinks if I bet a bit bigger, I'm less likely to get raised. Who fucking knows? He's clearly a moron because what he's done here is fucking moronic. But I also think this type of moron would just fold a Jack if we made this fucking 40 blinds here.
Yeah, and that's why you got bigger balls than me. I think that I like it. I 40 big blinds, so that's kind of like an overbet, isn't it? Big overbet.
Yeah. About 150% pods.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I think I can't remember the hand, but I think he's got a Jack, he's either got a Jack or a 9 or a Jack 9. I don't know. It looks like that. I'd be shocked to the core if he's got a straight or a flush.
I don't think he's got a flush or a full house. That's what I don't think.
Yeah.
And
no, impossible for him to have flush. Yeah. Which kind of means that he hasn't got any of the nutted hand, isn't it? But you're kind of relying on him not getting curious and wanting to know what you got, which I don't. I feel like a player doing this, it's just how they feel at the time, whether they call or fold your bluff. Are they feeling curious, or are they? I like the raise because I feel like he is so capped. He hasn't got any of the nutted hands. But you're kind of relying on him being able to fold. And he doesn't feel like the type of person that would fold a top pair. if you know what I mean. And I think he would get curious, and he would even just be fine with calling it and say, "Well, I had top pair. What was I supposed to do?"
Maybe.
I
Like I say, it could be a massive punt. I suspect. I mean, we can't look at this in theory because the hand's just gone way off the fucking rails the minute he donked 3 blinds and then same bet the turn. So that we can't even try and like recreate this in the sim by saying, well, what if this was big blind and a donk, etc., etc. Because again, even so, his sizing scheme isn't a thing. So the solver would just be like, "Yeah, fuck off, mate. You know, you do me head in." So this is
yeah.
we're absolutely
It's,
freestyling the fuck out of this now, and I'm just like, "Fuck you, mate." I've just seen this
I
so often
prefer raising
where
smaller.
it's gone
Yeah.
blocked bet flop, same bet turn, slightly bigger river. I think it's Jack X a lot here, and I think it's Jack X
Yeah.
that doesn't want to check call, doesn't want to like face a raise. So if I
Oh,
think he
that's a
doesn't want
good
to
point.
face a raise,
Yeah.
fuck him. He's going to face a fucking raise. If he's got it, he's got it. Good for him. We lose. You know, we get on with it. You know, but for me, this is going to be
Yeah.
this rage is going to be
It's that
very weak and mergy, and I just want to punish him for his fucking awful play. And that sounds
I think
emotional, but I don't mean it
yeah.
in that sense. I'm not just trying to punish him here. I think Ray's
Well,
here
I
makes
like what
more
you
money
said.
than Cole, without question.
Oh, by miles. Call is by miles the worst. I think
No,
with my
fold's the
hand.
worst.
I
We
don't
can't fold. Fold's the worst.
because it's so small. Yeah.
Because he
I
might still
like
be
what you
bet.
said
My
there.
issue is he can still be betting a 7, so we can't fold for this size.
When you said he doesn't want to face a bet, that's I think you're spot on there. He doesn't want to face a bet, which if he doesn't want to face a bet, he definitely doesn't want to face a raise, does he?
You wouldn't think
So
so.
I think I like yeah, I like the raise.
I
I
suspect
don't know
he's
if I'd
got a
be
bluff
brave.
catcher as played, and he doesn't want to bluff catch with it. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I like it, and I think I would go about I don't know. You said 40, which is probably I would have probably said 30. Gone about
Well, the thing
35,
is,
I
we're going
think,
polar, aren't
but
we?
I don't know.
Because we're saying we've got a full house or a flush. That's what we're saying when we
But
raise. And if we had a full house or a flush here, we'd want to go fucking huge. So
the,
saying that the
the,
call comes in here, it puts 34 blinds in the pot. So 150% pot would be
oh yeah, you're
51,
right.
maybe
Yeah,
even.
so 40.
So yeah, I'd say
Yeah.
40, raising to 40 here is just like a small overbet, if you will.
Our line does look strong, doesn't it? I know he's bet really small, but we've gone call, raise.
I mean, if I raise
Yeah.
here and he wants to call 50 big blinds with a jack or 45 big blinds, good for him. He gets to win this battle, but he's drawing dead on winning the war because he's just
Yeah.
if he's going bet block call here with just a
He's
naked Jack X, then yeah,
he's only
he's winning.
yeah.
He's winning this battle, but he's drawing dead against me long term because I'm never going to take this line against him again. And when we have value, we're just going to do it. We're just going to fucking absolutely rip the ass out of him. Because when we have value, if he's
Yeah.
not bet folding his bluff catchers, because that's what I think what he's doing here. I think he's probably by the time he reaches this river, he probably doesn't have very much value. He probably has Jack X quite a lot that probably doesn't want to do this. Probably wants to just start checking. And if he's like now like thin valuing or bluffing with his bluff catchers, when we just get to raise him all the time with like medium strength value and just put him in the bin constantly. So I don't care if this goes wrong. I'm going to raise if he calls and wins. Good for him.
Mm-hmm.
I just hope he doesn't leave the table.
Do you think that ever an all-in over bet? Because he's only got 71 left.
Well, we don't need to spend that because if we go to say 45 here and he jams, we're dead. So we just fold.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Nah,
Well, let's see what I did. Let's see what I
you're
did.
going to call, I would
think
imagine. Yeah.
yeah. There you go.
Yeah, good for him. And maybe he doesn't fold that hand. Jack King with the King of Diamonds. Not that he'll be thinking about blockers, etc., because he's clearly a fucking idiot. Maybe he doesn't fold that hand. Maybe I just like get called off there.
Yeah.
But yeah, you've got a really good note there. I hope you took it.
Yeah.
Because he's got a hand that he shouldn't have from the small blind. Then he's taken a line he shouldn't take post flop. But the fact he's done this just makes him massively exploitable down the line. You know, and now we can just raise, for example, when we've got ace jack and we've got pocket queens, etc. We can just raise for value, knowing that his range is too merging. It's going to have a really hard time folding versus raise. You know, if he's like calling king jack off, then donking this board, which he just clearly shouldn't do, then he has no idea of like relative hand strength, etc. Range versus range spots. So we're just going to get to put him in the fucking bin constantly. How many more have we got to do? I feel like I want to finish now. We've got two. Fuck it. Have you got time to do two more?
I don't think I have space. I think I'm going to have to go in about 10 minutes, 15 minutes.
Right. Well, we've got two left. We've got an ace king and we've got a 10-9 suited. Choose your poison.
10-9.
10-9? Right.
10-9 suited.
This video's way too long, but who gives a fuck? We've got another player that I'm familiar with. So we've opened the button. Call.
Oh.
Check. Okay.
I think I probably c-bet this. I don't like it though. I'm starting to think I like. We got a backdoor straight and a 10-eye flush draw, haven't we? If I c-bet it, which I think I did, I bet a third pot. But I do, yeah, no, I'm going to say, yeah, I would do that now, actually. I would do that.
Yeah.
I've already got 10 high.
Theory be damned.
Yeah.
I would always bet here. Flush draw, backdoor straight draw. Yeah, I'm just always betting. We get raised, we have an easy call. We're supposed to play like quite passively in these multi-way pots, etc., etc. But we just got a hand that can improve a lot of ways to a very strong hand. I'm just going to bet small here. Just going to bet 1/3 pot, and really, you know, not care what they do. Hope they fold. If they call, great. That's time to get there. If they raise, call. Time to get there. I think it's quite an easy spot on this flop. I mean, there's clearly nothing wrong with checking back. We get to realise, etc. I don't think we have an awful lot of fold equity on our bet here, but we just have a lot of like good situations that could occur. So yeah, I'm just going to bet personally.
Yeah.
We do. We get raised.
I'm not folding. I'm not raising either.
Yep, perfect. So we need to think about, you know, we're just getting a good price to hit. We need 27% equity. We probably, you know, our flush draw alone, assuming that it's not dominated, has what, like 30% equity. Fair enough, we only have one street to realise it. We have the backdoor straight draw. He can sometimes give up. Sometimes we can bluff later in the hand. Yeah, it's just a mandatory call. Turn queen. He now bets big. Which he should do. I like the way Villain's size so far. I think his flop check raise size is good. I think his turn barrel size is pretty good.
Well, I've actually got out to the nuts now. So I don't, I mean, I guess I'm losing at the moment, but I've got outs.
And we can still bluff rivers. You know, sometimes he can check the river, we can bluff. I think we have another super easy call, and then if he bets river and we don't improve, we have an easy fold. If he checks river, then we, depending on the river, we decide whether we want to bluff or not. Because I think a lot of the time his range here is going to be like pocket threes, pocket fours. I don't think he's got like a random jack X in there. He's going to have some flush draws. Maybe he's got a hand like king 10 of spades, ace 10 of spades, etc. I think we have a really easy call here, and then we can maybe sometimes attack when he checks the river.
This is the.
Yeah, now we have an easy fold. So that one was. We'll if you got time, we'll do the ace king, because I think you played this hand perfectly.
Yeah, why not?
And now it's just an easy fold. I guess when you marked that hand, you were thinking, could you have played it more aggressively somewhere? And I don't think we did. I think we played the hand really nicely. We just didn't win, and that happens a lot.
Yeah. Let's do the ace king. We got it.
King. Open, call, fold. Oh, come on, mate. Look at the stack sizes. Why are you reviewing this one?
I've just noticed to say they both got 20 big blinds behind.
And we got top pair, top kicker with a backdoor flush draw.
I when I've marked this hand, I am guessing. I presume I best lose this hand, but as played now, as looking at it now, I would. The guy behind me's got 21. He's got 20. Um, I don't mind if they all go in now.
No, it's all in.
Yeah, yeah.
We've just had the best hand a lot of the time. We have the emergency redraw if we need it. Yeah, and it's fucking the SPR is now 1. So yeah, just all in.
Yeah, that's fine. I've put that in. I've not.
And we didn't do the all in. And now the SPR is fucking less than 1. And it's grim now because we've been basically this guy isn't bluffing. Button is still fucking there. Jack 10's just got there. King Queen's just got there. Queen 9's just got there, etc. But
yeah,
we're just never folding because both these guys are very likely to be fish. We're still ahead of stuff like fucking King Jack, King 10, etc. Flush draws. We just have to call now. But I would have just jammed the flop.
Yeah. I think what's happened here, the reason I've marked that hand, I think I was multi-tabling and I've missed their stack sizes.
Yeah.
I haven't. Yeah, I think I just didn't realise that they were both so shallow, and so I've just marked it for review. And yeah, never mind.
We were never winning that hand when that flop came down, were we? We're behind to a draw. We're behind to 2. Fucked, but we're still just all in on the flop. Simple as that. We're just all in on the flop, and against those stack depths,
because they're so
like SPR. That's something that I've been paying a lot more attention to lately, and it makes life so much fucking easier when you just instead of looking at things that kind of don't matter as much. What's the SPR? How strong's my hand? And that just simplifies so many decisions. I've got like a little chart that I like to use now that just helps me massively. Sadly, it's only for fucking 2E, but I just look at this on the turn. I'm like, right, okay, do I want to be all in or not? And if I do, then this just tells me what my sizes are. Simple as that. If I want to be all in on the turn and the SPR is 6-1, well, that's the fucking size I'm going. If I don't want to be all in, then I'm like, right, well, okay, I don't want to be all in. Do I still want a value bet? And then just play a smaller pot. And if I do, then I'll start using 70% pot. So I've got basically, I've got three options on the turn now. Check, bet 70, or bet 2E. And just finding these simplifications makes things so fucking easy. It's not relevant to this hand, of course, but the SPR on the flop was 1-1. Or virtually 1-1, and we've got top pair against 2 morons. It's just right, okay, I'm all in then, and sometimes I'm going to lose, and there's nothing we can fucking do about that. But I'll send you that screenshot because it's really useful. Like, when you are on turns, it's really helpful if you. I would advise to simplify things for yourself. Go on the turn. Have a turn strategy of check, bet 70. Or 75 or whatever you want, 66, doesn't really matter. Check, bet that kind of anything between 66, 75, and then 2E. And then just have those as and it'll it'll simplify a lot of your decisions. And it'll keep you in just fine shape. Then when you're in the passive node of where people are betting into you, you just need to try and understand their sizing from what are they trying to do on this turn? Do they look like they're trying to get all in? Do they look like they're not trying to get all in? Because when you have people who split their sizes on the turn but don't do it very well, that's when people can become really exploitable. And the more you're aware of what a good strategy looks like, the more you'll be able to identify what a bad strategy looks like. And that's when you can start thinking about how am I going to exploit this? Villain's range here probably wants to overbet to set up stacks. Top of his range probably wants to overbet. So when they don't overbet, which is what I'm doing in my games too, if I don't want to be all in by the river, I'm usually not overbetting. So if other people are playing a similar sort of strategy, then you're just more in tune with it. And then you can start finding more river bluffs. You can start finding more turn floats versus smaller sizes in order to try and bluff rivers, etc. And everything just becomes a little bit more intuitive. But I know you need to get away. So enjoy the rest of your day, sir. Thank you ever so much for coming back and doing this. It's been a stupidly long video. I don't really care. We probably should have split it into 2, but fuck it. It's one video.
Glad to be back, mate.
And I don't care.
Yeah.
I've give up caring about YouTube views and stuff like that. I'm just doing stuff I enjoy doing. There's a small community of people who seem to enjoy it, and in terms of growing the channel,
including me,
never gonna fucking happen. Don't really care anymore. It's a hobby, but I prefer doing stuff like this than I do doing stuff on my own. So thank you very much for reaching out to me and getting back in touch to do this, because I very much appreciate it. But I'll let you go now, Squire. So there we go. That's the end of the video with Owen. It was lovely to catch up with him again. We're not doing a video next week because it's half term. Owen's away on a long weekend, and my working hours don't fit with Owen's schedule. So there won't be a video next week, but we are intending on restarting these inside of term time regular sessions. So we'll probably have a break sometime in the summer. But if Owen wants to, I'm happy to keep doing this indefinitely. If you would like to do this with me too, and you wouldn't mind the content being recorded, and you're available either on Sundays or Monday through Wednesday, early like 9:30 to 12:30 ish during term times, let me know and we can certainly do it. If you don't want to make videos but you'd like to do some of this type of work with me and you're good at poker, then we can do something just to like help each other out. If you would like to, if you're bad at poker and are willing to pay for a little bit of coaching and you like the way I've talked with Owen, let me know. My rates are incredibly cheap because I do it for pleasure, not for profit. Let me know about that as well. And yeah, I think that's about it. I'm off to start rendering this video, which is gonna fucking take a long time. You might not see this till Tuesday. We're recording on a Monday morning. You might not see it till Tuesday. But yeah, I'm out of here. Hope you guys all enjoyed it. Have a good week. I'll be doing something later in the week with my own hands, but take care for now, and we'll see you again soon.